Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Karen. I'm here to help you get the most out of your iPad, whether that is with lettering or art or journaling. In today's video, I want to show you how you can create this iOS 15 logo. I absolutely love the colors. I love the marbling effect. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I'm also going to show you how to make these rounded corners and this stamp out effect with the letters. We're going to use the Procreate app for this. And to start with, we're going to create a new canvas, and the width of the canvas is going to be 3200 pixels, and then the height is going to be 1800 pixels. The brush I'm going to be using for this is going to be my IPL Wet Marble brush, which is part of the IPL Marbling brush set, but you could also use any of the painting brushes that are already part of Procreate. And so now to start with, we're just going to put some color on the canvas, and you don't have to be precise at all with this. You just put the colors on the canvas, and then here on the right hand side I'm going to add a little bit of white as well. And now comes the trick for the marbling. Now we're going to select the liquify tool, and to start with, we're going to have the size set to 40%, the pressure to max, distortion is none, and the momentum is max as well. And now this is so much fun. So now what we're going to do is start making these scrambled eggs. So with the Apple Pencil, you're going to create these little swirls on the page, and this is what creates this really nice marbling effect. And then we're also going to use the expand tool and maybe decrease that brush size a little bit. And so now we can create some blobs, which looks really cool as well. Just hold the Apple Pencil down and you can see now how it creates this blob. This is almost like water drops that you can see. And then you can even decrease the size a little bit more and make some smaller ones as well. And we can make some here. And then we're going to go back to the push tool, and we're going to increase the size ever so slightly. So now we can push around the colors a little bit more on the screen as well, just to arrange them a little bit nicer. And maybe get rid of some of the parts you might not like so much. And then we're going to make it a bit smaller again, and maybe do some more scrambling. And I think it looks really good. And then the next thing we want to do is create the rectangle here, so we can put the 15 in here. And the easiest way to do this actually is just create a new layer and then fill this layer with white. And now we can resize this layer. So we're going to select the arrow tool, and then you select freeform here. And so now you can bring in the size of your rectangle like this. And then you can tap on one of the corners, and now you can dial in the dimensions super precisely. So we're going to select 1200 pixels by 1200 pixels. And now we have the perfect square. So now we're going to turn on snapping here, and then we can center this rectangle perfectly in the center of the page. And so now for the rounded corners, I'm going to show you another trick. So we're going to create another new layer, and then maybe change the color just so it's a little bit more visible. So I'm going to select this yellow, and then I'm going to select that monoline brush, which is part of the calligraphy brush set. And we're going to use the quick shape tool. Create a circle and don't lift up the Apple Pencil until you see the edit shape button come up. So you tap on the button. So now we can fill this circle with yellow. And then what we want to do is align it to our square here, and we are going to bring it in until it's perfectly aligned with one of the quadrants of our square. So now what we're going to do is duplicate this 3 times until we have 4 circles. And now we're going to distribute these circles in our square. We're going to use the arrow tool, and then we can move them like this. And you want to make sure that it's perfectly aligned here with the edges, but if you have the snapping tool turned on, it should happen like this automatically. So the next thing we need to do is merge all of these layers together, and then we're going to fill in the shapes here. We're going to go back to our square layer and tap on select, and that way we can now fill that shape here. So now we're going to go back to our yellow layer, and now we can fill in the gaps here and then here as well. And then we don't need that square anymore, so we can turn that visibility off. But we want to change the color of our yellow shape to white. So we're going to alpha lock this and then select white and tap on fill layer. And so now this is looking pretty good. The next thing we are going to do is add some text. So we're going to create another new layer, and we're going to select the text tool here. We're going to tap add text, and then we're just going to write 15. And then the font I'm going to use for this is Apple SD Gothic Neo. It's not exactly the right font. The font that is being used in the original logo is one of the Apple fonts, but I'm not sure about the licensing of the font. So I'm just going to choose one that's already in Procreate that looks reasonably similar. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And then we need to change the color as well. So now we're going to make it purple, just so that we can see what this looks like. And then we are going to center it here as well. And it's looking pretty good. So what you can do as well, if you wanted to, you could actually outline the text to make it a little bit thicker. So you can choose the outline here, and then we can fill the gaps. So now we can fill this and this one as well. And then the next thing we want to do is do that punch through effect. So we're going to go back to our layers panel and select the layer with the number 15. So you tap on select, and then you are going to tap on the rounded square layer and select clear. So now this is going to stamp out the number 15 from this layer. So now we need to turn this layer off, otherwise you can't see it. So you can see now it's purple. And when we turn this off, you can see now how the background is coming through. And this is so cool. And then the last thing we're going to do is actually blur out the background a little bit more, because in the original it's all blurry. And there is two ways of how we can create the blur. So we're going to go back to the original layer. And now you could use the smudging tool and you could just smudge this out, but there's actually another way of how to do that as well. So we're going to select Gaussian blur, but instead of using layer, we're going to select pencil, and now we can actually paint in the Gaussian blur exactly where we want it. And you can see it's got this little magic plus signs around that brush here. So we tap on the brush, and I recommend that you use the gouache pen from the painting set. And now we can paint in the blur exactly where we want it to be. And then you can increase or decrease the blur and have it as much or as little blurred as you would like it to be. And how cool is that? All right, now we only have one thing left, and that's to create a little shadow here. So now we're going to duplicate our rounded square layer, and we're going to turn on alpha lock and then fill the layer with black, and then undo the alpha lock so that we can put a blur on it. And this time we're going to use the Gaussian blur, but we're going to use the whole layer blur. So now we're going to blur it, and you want to make it quite a soft blur. So it's been set to around 31.5%. You can see this is a really, really big blur, but this is looking really nice. And so now we are going to ever so slightly move it down here. And then we are also going to change the opacity. This is really strong blur, and I would rather have it less strong. So we're going to have this very, very subtle like this. And then I also want to remove the blur here from the center. So I'm just going to erase it like this. And now I think it looks really good. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And then I'm also going to put up another couple of Procreate tutorials so you can get some more inspiration and you can keep learning. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.